My wife is having an affair and I couldn't care less. Part 1 and 2. I, Alex 29M, have been married to my wife, Olivia 29F, for 5 years. We have been together for 7 years in total. We started together during my senior year of college and ran in the same friends group. Although I had known her for 2 years at that point, she was the sister of a girl who went to the college. I was supposed to be a rebound. She had been in a relationship for the previous 3 years, even lived with the guy, who I was sort of friends with. They had issues before they moved in together, and needless to say moving in together to fix issues wasn't a good idea. Things got worse and he kicked her out of their apartment. 3 days later she was writing me on my couch. Olivia had been single for around a combined month's worth of time since she was a freshman in high school. All of her previous boyfriends had issues around sex, and my reputation preceding itself, she figured I'd be a good candidate to have some fun with given her newfound freedom. She had never had a fling, and just wanted to use me like a friends with benefits thing. I wasn't complaining, the sex was amazing. However, I had always kind of had a thing for her. I just never acted on it because she had a boyfriend. I was smitten from that first night on my couch. Fortunately, she was not very good at maintaining any form of her own boundaries. It took her a month to really kiss me, but other than that, any time I asked her on any type of date she said yes. We were spending every available night together. After 6 weeks she asked me to be exclusive with her. I agreed. After college I got my ideal job as a social media manager. My now wife had been doing secretarial work since she was 19 and had just landed a spot at a high school. The first 2 years of dating and engagement were really fun and we connected in every way. The whole thing was fast. We dated a year, engaged a year, and got married. Our first year of married life was pretty good. We did a small vacation, bought a house, and had discussions on children. We agreed to not start until we were closer to 30. When COVID hit, I went to working from home. While the buildings were closed and most staff at home, the secretaries were still working in building. It was during this time that we began to drift apart. I just found the whole situation to be pretty easy. I was still doing my job from the comfort of my basement office. I found keeping the house clean was a breeze with it just being the two of us and her being gone most of the day. With some extra time on my hands, I got really into GTA Online. It was my new hobby. I was playing quite a bit during that period of time. When Olivia would get home, I was usually just getting into the ideal playtime. I tried including her in it but she wasn't very interested in my new hobby. Since then I have expanded my variety of games, so I am online a fair amount of time each day. It was also during this time that some glaring communication issues became more and more evident. This problem has only gotten worse in the last 4 years since I went to work from home. For example, for nearly 3 years she has been telling me that I don't communicate with her. Which is not true. I tell her everything that happens to me, which isn't very much. I work at home and my main hobby is here at home. There really isn't that much to tell, so I don't really understand why this is an issue. I think she has finally come to understand this, as it hasn't been brought up for months now. This is just one problem we've been battling the last few years. There are other things she is always going on about as well, like that I don't care about her or support her. Which is ridiculous because I obviously do. I married her, wouldn't have done that if I didn't care, and even though I make way more than her now, I rarely splurge on myself. Instead I encourage her to get the things she likes. She buys a ton of shit every month. We could literally survive off my salary now. She chooses to work. I have no idea what she wants. I work full-time and do almost all the housework. Those are the things she largely nags me about. Anytime we try to talk about any of our issues though, it just feels like I am supposed to sit there and take it. She never wants to talk about any of the issues I see. She just tells me I'm being defensive and hijacking the conversation. Always telling me that I don't say anything until she brings something up, and then suddenly it's a floodgate of problems I have with her. It's not a floodgate and it's nothing new. It's the same problems. She never just outright says what she wants or what she means. I have told her so many times I'm not going to pick up on stupid hints and half the time I have no idea what she wants. She wants me to be vulnerable. What does that even mean? I'm not going to just randomly start crying. I think the biggest thing that shows me that she doesn't care about me or like me at all is complete lack of physical intimacy. Our sex life started to diminish right around the same time COVID hit. The frequency just kept dropping and has continued to over the last 4 years. I was the only one ever initiating. The rejections built up more and more. Eventually I just stopped trying. Most of the time I don't even come to bed anymore. Instead I just sleep on the couch down here in my office. Our problems aside, we've had some changes over the last few years. 3 years ago I switched jobs. I'm still a social media manager. I just jumped from the small company I was working at to a much larger corporation. I had lots of reasons. I liked the people I worked with before, but this was more money, better benefits, and 100% work from home. My old company was planning a hybrid situation once COVID restrictions began relaxing. Olivia also switched jobs 2 years ago, and became a secretary at another large company. About 6 months ago, a new entry-level guy, Asher 23M, began working at Olivia's company. At this same time she got a new iPhone. Like usual, I set her phone up for her. However, I had been suspecting that she was talking badly about me to her mother and sister. It just seemed like their overall mood towards me had soured. So, I am not proud of this, but while I was setting up her phone I also put some different types of spying apps on it, and synced everything into the cloud, which I then synced to my tablet. I did see her complain to her sister about our marriage. Her sister never really bashed me, just gave her advice. A month ago though, is when I started to see her message with Asher. It started off as just friendly office talk. Quickly that turned into innocent personal talk. They would discuss books they liked, TV shows, hobbies, and so on. They would do this for hours at a time. It definitely had me thinking something was going on, but at the same time if she just had a friend I figured it would be good for her, and keep her off my ass at least some. The last 2 weeks I have noticed she was in a better mood overall. That is also when their conversations took a steep turn into the inappropriate. It was quick too. They went from just discussing a love of Hunger Games to talking about what they wanted to do to each other in a single night. It only kept escalating from there, and this past Wednesday they met outside of work for the first time. She gave me the dumbest excuse too. Telling me she had to work late. She typically works 8:30 to 5 p.m., and she wasn't sure how long she would have to work past 5 p.m. Even if I didn't know what she was up to, this would still be a red flag. She works under a very high up in the company, and he is literally the sweetest old man. I have met him twice, and she has never said one bad word about this guy. So for him to suddenly require her to work for an undetermined amount of time past her normal hours, after 2 years in which she was never asked to do extra or stay late, was a red flag in itself. She told me that on Monday, and I decided I was just going to play it cool. See what happens. I didn't want to burst her bubble and have her backtrack with all that. It was never physical crap. Wednesday came, she didn't get home until around 8:15 p.m. and immediately hit the shower. Normally she likes to snack first, work out, or sit down and scroll on her phone for a half hour. She tried to come down to my office and talk to me, but I just ignored her. I knew what she did and I wasn't interested in easing her conscience. I actually think I inadvertently did though, as she seemed to relax more just before she left. I guess the thing that is throwing me off is, I don't really feel any which way about her cheating. I feel like I should be pissed or hurt, but I'm just meh. I can't really explain it. Later that night they exchanged a few messages, but she was very short in response and was giving off the vibe that she didn't want to talk with him. That changed the next day and they talked a lot more, including discussing how amazing the night before had been. Olivia told him that she was going to tell me that late Wednesdays was going to be a regular thing going forward. She did just that yesterday. I am genuinely happy about this. This wasn't a one-off situation. She is having a full-blown affair and I can prove it. She had no power over me now. I don't care what she is doing, so if she is trying to hurt me, she has failed. Now I can get out of this marriage and not be the bad guy. I've always assumed she would paint me negatively if we ever divorced. Now she can try, but at the end of the day, she cheated. I know I have let myself go a little bit physically, and of course there are things I could improve on, but everyone does. That doesn't mean it's okay to go out and cheat. If you're that unhappy, go out and get a divorce first. I was planning on spending this day researching divorce attorneys. Olivia came into my office about 20 minutes ago and asked me to take her on a hike and picnic. I don't know what she is getting at. I could see the shock on her face when I agreed to go. I'm debating on whether or not to drop the bomb on her while we're out there or wait until we get back. I half expect she will ask for a divorce. I didn't end up saying anything during the hike. Neither did my wife, Olivia 29F. It was actually a really nice day. We hiked, we joked, we talked. It was like being on a first date. She had packed a picnic filled with my favorite snacking foods. I just kept expecting her to ask for a divorce or come clean about the affair and beg for forgiveness. It didn't happen. When we were done, we drove home. When we got home, I went down to my office and started up a game. She went and showered. I was sitting there playing when she walked in and said, "I'm ordering takeout from the Japanese place, then I'm going to watch Abigail. I would like it if you watched it with me, but you don't have to if you are busy. Either way, what do you want to eat?" I told her. She left the room, and I went back to my game. I was planning on just gaming through the night. I had already missed a lot of time going out with her during the day. Then I started feeling guilty about not watching the movie with her. I ended up leaving my game when she came back with the food. We ate and watched Abigail together. When we were done eating, she moved over closer and we cuddled on the couch together. I couldn't even remember the last time we had a day or night like that one. The next day on Sunday I was gaming, and I just kind of started to feel bored with it. I went into our home gym, if you want to call it that. It's a treadmill and set of dumbbells going up from 5 pounds to 50 pounds. I worked out for the first time in probably 3 years. I went back to gaming afterwards, but it did feel good. On Monday, when she got home, I came back upstairs and asked her how her day was. We ended up talking for 2 hours about random stuff like work and what's going on with her friends. She made us both dinner and picked out a new show for us to binge. We didn't make it but halfway through episode 2 and we were getting it on right there on the living room couch. We hadn't had sex in at least 5 months at this point. Well, I guess that's only true for me. Tuesday was much of the same. I had no idea what was going on, but she was putting real effort into our relationship, and in return I began to do the same. When Wednesday rolled around, I wondered if she would work late or not. I monitored her messages during the day, and while they are few and far between when they are at work, the ones that were there did indicate she intended to go to his place that night. Which is exactly what she did. For the 2 hours or so she was there, I sat and wondered. I wondered why it didn't bother me. It made no sense. I should be very angry that she is banging some other guy literally right at that moment. It didn't though. I don't want to give the wrong idea. I also got no pleasure or excitement from the knowledge either. I felt nothing. My feelings were literally no different than if she were out getting her nails done, or at Starbucks having a coffee with a friend. When she got back home after that second time, I was going to confront her. I had no doubt about what transpired. His graphic text to her on her way home really didn't leave much to the imagination. Like the previous week, she went straight to the shower upon arrival. I waited in the bedroom for her to come out. Olivia walked out into the room wrapped in her towel. I had a somber look on my face. I kept thinking about how great the previous few days had been, but I still needed to confront her. When I saw her though, she looked literally amazing, and actually happy. I was so used to her sulking. I had noticed this change slowly after her affair started. She was much more like the Olivia I had fallen in love with 7 years ago. When she looked at me, her face turned to concern, actual affectionate concern for me. She approached quickly, put her hand on my back and asked me what was wrong in a sweet voice. I looked at her. I actually felt a well of tears begin to form, but I pushed that down. I decided not to say anything. I told her I had a rough day with work and just needed some reassurance. She loved on me with some shoulder rubs and we talked about it. I got up and went to get her some food I had prepped earlier. As I was leaving, she said, "You know, all those times I told you I wanted you to open up to me, or be vulnerable. This is what I meant. You don't have to face everything alone. I want to be part of your life." I nodded and left. After that night, I started to really think about our relationship, and just about myself as a whole. Ever since COVID hit, I really haven't done anything. I barely talked to my parents. I had lost connection with all of my friends. I was horribly out of shape, especially for a guy who had always been the fit guy. I decided if she was going to put effort into our relationship, then I should as well. I began to look into some relationship books. I also designed myself a workout plan. All of that was almost 6 months ago now, and I can report I don't think I have been happier than I am now. I really enjoy the routine of our lives. Sunday and Friday are do your own thing nights. On Mondays and Tuesdays we hang out around the house with each other. One day she picks what we watch, the other day I pick. Wednesday is when she works late. I have reconnected with some friends, and we have a weekly D&D night. I had never played before, but I've gotten really into it. They are all seasoned players, but I am coming along. Typically I am also out later than she is, which I prefer. Thursday and every other Saturday are date nights. We usually just go to a movie or dinner on Thursday. Saturday we do something fun, like hit a museum or go hiking. On the other Saturday is for us to do our own thing on our own. I sometimes go out on these days, but usually this is where I do my gaming. I barely play through the week now and have gotten into pretty good shape by replacing it with working out. She could be doing any number of things on these days. Sometimes she is with Asher. I get annoyed sometimes because she lies to me about where she is going. I just smile and nod, but I know what she is actually doing. She also uses these days to visit family or just have some alone time. I know what everyone is going to say. How can you be okay with her cheating? I don't have a good answer. It just doesn't bother me. I had some person reach out to me on my last post and tell me they think I might be poly. I just don't think that's the case. I have no interest in pursuing anyone else. For whatever reason, I am just indifferent to the fact of her infidelity. I also really want to stress the indifferent part. I've had so many in the comments imply that I get off on this. I don't. I feel no excitement, no pleasure, no jealousy, no embarrassment. This might be different if it were public knowledge, but it's not. I still hope that the affair just ends. If it does, I'll never say anything, and we can just go about the rest of our marriage. I know at some point I'm going to have to force it to stop. We will want kids eventually, and I am only doing that if we can be 100%. In the meantime, I'm just going to keep enjoying my life.